Welcome to a very special episode of the Fox Report, the only internet political commentary show named after a 16th century Catholic radical who wanted to blow up Parliament. What it turns out is, I've been on the internet some recently, been perusing through the YouTubes, and I've come across some interesting happenings. And that is, it turns out that a YouTuber by the name of Thunderfoot, the ancient one, because he's been on YouTube forever, doing videos about science and atheism and things of that nature. But recently I've noticed that he believes he has identified the dumbest reporter ever. And he made a video called The Dumbest Reporter Ever. And who is this reporter that is supposedly so dumb? It's a reporter on the network RT who was covering the new Hyperloop technology. Now, the Hyperloop technology, it is a new sort of train railway system that uses a vacuum tube to shoot a pod going close to 600 miles an hour between cities to make it much faster travel than you would normally get with a regular train. And the reason that this woman has been labeled as so dumb is that she made this comment about objects and people going at 600 miles an hour.
Now this sounds great to me because who likes to waste time traveling someplace, you know? You just want to get to wherever you're going already, right? But there's always been a big question in my mind whenever I've read about these Hyperloops, and that is this. What the hell happens to your body when you go that fast in a vacuum tube? And the answer is, they don't know yet.
The problem with this comment is, as Thunderfoot does point out, we already have lots of objects and vehicles that go about 600 miles an hour, and actually ones that go way, way faster than that.
It's not like we can ask these people in a metal tube going at 600 miles per hour what the effects of this are on people's bodies or something, or these people, or these people, or these people going at about 20 times the speed of sound.
And of course, because she made this comment, she was labeled by Thunderfoot as
running. Not for just maybe one of the stupidest people who claims to be on a news network, but stupidest people ever.
And Thunderfoot brings out, his British accent and explains to us how insufferable this woman actually is. And from doing that, he also invoked the wrath of the internet upon this woman. And now the mob has come after her videos, and we can see the effects of the mob as such. That the mob has come upon her video, and they have just hit her for a barrage of disparaging comments, talking about how foolish she is, how she must be a joke, how she is not real, and how she must realize that actually the Earth is traveling at about 6,700 miles per hour, making this woman incredibly foolish for not even knowing how fast the Earth is moving. Now, me being myself, a pretty decent gentleman of a sort, saw this vitriol being directed at this woman, and I have to say I felt a degree of sympathy. Now, I will admit that she sounds extremely dumb in this video, and I can understand where it's coming from. But just a part of me, maybe a little masculine protection impulse, came upon me, and it summoned the spirit of Zach Galifianakis in me, and I just had to cry out at all this vitriol.
How dare you? She's a nice lady!
And that is, I feel that this woman may not be as dumb as people are saying. That there may actually be a misunderstanding here. And I will go to links to try to make that case, if I might. Well, first of all, let's point out one thing. This woman is not dumb. She's actually been an accomplished reporter for a long time. She's worked at numerous different outlets, mostly on RT, of course. She's got a little intro here. She does her little kick thing. Yeah, it's very cute like that. It's just kind of cute. You go to her Twitter page, she's got her whole thing set up. Her name's apparently Lori. And she's got some kind of internet sex thing.
Hey, baby. It gets awfully lonely up here. Let me read you my book. Pretty please?
It's apparently some kind of parody of some kind of sci-fi sex thing. Okay, well, maybe she is a little bit of a silly sort of woman. I don't know. That's a little bit silly. I don't know what to say about that. But, you know, here's the thing, guys. She works for RT. That is Russia Today. And if you don't know, that is Russian propaganda. And so, guys, the first thing is, she's just trying to do a little propaganda here, guys. She's just doing her job. Okay, she's just trying to sow a little discord. And, you know, maybe by putting this video out there, and all of you guys just responding with such vitriol, you know, that probably took democracy down by just a few degrees of a point. And by doing that, she maybe did her job a little bit as a propagandist. And so maybe you might want to consider that she might, at the end of the day, be the one who's actually playing maybe a little bit of 8-dimensional chess with you. But on a more serious note, there's one objection that I'll raise to the mob, and I'll raise to Thunderfoot and the others that have condemned this woman. And that is this. The experience that you will have as a human being traveling at a certain speed and velocity is diametrically linked to the design and the integrity of the craft in which you are riding in. That is to say, yes, we know that a space shuttle can travel up to 17,500 miles an hour. It can do that, of course, because it's made out of an array of composite materials that are perfectly balanced to keep it safe even when it's re-entering the Earth's orbit. That it's perfectly balanced to travel at that speed. We also know that a 747 jet can go up to 825 miles an hour because it's perfectly aligned with the right set of aluminum and different materials to make it run perfectly at that speed. And then finally, we know that the fastest car in the world can go about 300 miles an hour. And again, it's because of how it's designed, that shape and design of that car is able to sustain at those speeds. Now, if we were to take these vehicles and shuffle around the speed factor among the three of them a little bit, I think that you might have a very different experience. So, for instance, if a car was traveling at the same speed as a 747 jet, you would probably have an experience that would at least look a little something like this. And if an airplane were to be traveling at the same speed of a space shuttle at around 15,000 miles an hour, I haven't tested it out, but I'm willing to bet it would probably look a little something like this.
Robert, das ist auch Robert Sturzkopf, der hier.
And if you were to travel in a space shuttle, going at the same speed as a Galaxy-class starship from Star Trek The Next Generation, traveling at maximum warp, I think your experience might be something a little bit similar to Matthew McConaughey falling into a black hole in the movie Interstellar. In other words,
it isn't that the wind is blowing, it's what the wind is blowing.
The point being that you're going to have a different experience based on the craft that you're flying in. Just because one kind of object or craft can go a certain speed doesn't mean that another one can do that and protect humans safely. Now, that's where we come back to our Hyperloop Girl. So, one thing that this girl did that neither Thunderfoot nor the people criticizing her looked into is that she cited a study from the Virginia Institute. So, I actually went and I looked up that study. By looking at this study, yes, I found that there is indeed a study at the Virginia Institute studying how people react to traveling at speeds of 600 miles an hour in a Hyperloop pod. Now, the interesting thing about this is that it's not about whether or not people can go 600 miles an hour. We know that. People do that. The issue is that the Hyperloop tubes have no windows. And while we're traveling at those speeds with no windows, your perception of reality could be altered because you can't see how fast you're going. And again, these are PhD level scientists at an accredited university. And what they've said is human functions may be impacted by high speed and the perception of knowing how fast you're moving. Without windows and a frame of reference, a person's balance, sensor, motor, and other nervous system functions may be impacted as well. We'll be looking at all of these factors in an integrated framework that measures physiological function and performance of the team and system operators and the passenger. So in other words, what they're saying is it's the design of the pod, since it has no windows, that will affect how we as humans will perceive the speed and affect our physiological functions. That's what they're looking at here. So as you can see, what's being looked at here is not whether or not humans can go 600 miles an hour. We know that. We know that humans can go 600 miles an hour. We've done that before. But the point is, can this particular pod protect humans at that speed? Because I don't know if you know this or not, but you cannot put a 747 jet into a Hyperloop tube. You can't put a space shuttle into a Hyperloop tube because it's a different environment. There's actually friction there that's not aerodynamic in the same way. It's just not going to fit. And the point with that is, we know that these pods are designed in a certain way and they're different from those other craft. So we're trying to figure out if those specific pods can go 600 miles an hour. So that's really what's being looked at here. Now, when it comes to this RT presenter, did she end up looking pretty dumb? Absolutely. But, guys, if you talk to this woman on the street, if you approached her on the street, do you think that she doesn't know that an airliner goes several hundred to 1,000 miles an hour? She knows that. Do you think she doesn't know that a space shuttle goes thousands of miles an hour? She knows that too. What she made here was a mistake. And the mistake that she made was to look stupid on the internet. And when she looked dumb, she looked about as dumb as those people on Jay Leno who he just approaches on the street and asks science questions, and they sound something like this.
How many planets in our solar system?
There's like, 12 to 50? I don't know.
12 to 50?
Yeah,
That's quite a range.
that. I'm not even sure.
No. How many planets in our solar system?
Oh, let's say 100. I don't know.
But her crime is not being the dumbest reporter on the planet. She's not the dumbest reporter on the planet. She looks stupid on the internet. And we all know that when you look stupid on a place as unforgiving as the internet, you will be torn apart with the G-forces of Matthew McConaughey falling into a black hole in the movie Interstellar.